I'm Tori Townley here on the Serve Brew. I have my LA Dream Center mug today.
Yeah.
I only have 1 cup of coffee a day. I am 6 months pregnant, so don't judge me. 1 cup of coffee, we're good. But anyway, for jumping on today. I'm very excited. I have my friend Jared Rendon, who is the director of the Fort Myers Dream Center with Next Level Church in Florida. And I've known him for a little while. We've just been
Yeah.
kind of phone chat friends talking through outreach and dream centers, and they I don't know how old it is, but it's fairly new. They just started this dream,
Yep.
and just some incredible insight, great stuff they've been doing, great story behind it. And so I invited him to be on today just to share really the process of starting a dream center and what that looks like. I know there are so many churches right now who that is
Mm,
a big dream in our hearts, is to
yeah.
dream centers, and sometimes we just don't know. It sounds big, it can be an elusive. How do you define a dream center? We don't even know. But it's beautiful, and it just takes shape as you follow God's heart, and that's
That's
exactly
right.
done. So I am going to switch over to Jared. Hey, bud, how are you?
Hey everyone, how's it going? Let me show you my little mug. This is actually one of my favorite mugs. Can you
That's
see it?
awesome. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. It's one of my favorite. I can only drink coffee at work because my wife likewise is pregnant, and one of the smells she can't stand is the coffee smell. So I can only drink coffee at work.
Hey, that's
Um,
funny. Because
ah,
how far along is she?
we are 4.5 months.
Okay.
Um, and she used to be an obsessive coffee lover and now detest it. And it's horrible because I can't go without 3 cups of coffee a day. So
Well,
I have to wait till I get to work. Thank you. Congratulations to you as well.
thank you. Funny thing, when I first found out I was pregnant, the full first trimester, coffee was disgusting. Like I could not.
Ah,
So there is hope. If she is still sick, there is hope. Now I'm back to it and I'm good. So
he-
just keep me.
here's hoping. Here's hoping.
That's awesome. So cool. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for taking time.
Absolutely.
Crazy day. You're the director of the Dream Center and
Hmm.
pastor there at that campus. So I know your life's wild, but I'm super excited just to let everybody kind of get to know your story. So if you would, first of all, just tell us a little bit about you and your role, maybe a little bit of your personal journey to get where you are today.
Yeah. So just to give you a little bit about myself, I actually knew there was a call to ministry since about the 10th grade in high school. But I felt the Lord lead me to go the corporate America route for about 7 years of my life. And those 7 years were absolutely invaluable to even the leadership and the training that I received, and the preparation, if anything, of my heart for those 7 years. And then about 3 years ago, I started with Next Level Church, and I started as the community outreach director. And so back then, this whole Dream Center concept was just an idea, a vision in our pastor's heart that hadn't even materialized yet. We had been doing outreach for about 10 years in our inner city. So, like a lot of cities, our main broadcast campus is about 5 miles down the road from the Dream Center. But from in those 5 miles, in that 5 mile stretch, there's really two complete and distinct demographic of people. And so for the last 10 years, we had been doing adopt a block ministry, going into communities. And so part of my role was to, when I came on, was to revive that outreach effort, one, and then two, really do a lot of the homework and researching and digging about what this Dream Center could be, should be. And honestly, it's been amazing because I've been part of this journey from day one, and to see where we're at, where we were to where we're at now has been it's been truly amazing to see God's hand in and all over around it. So, like you said, my role is by title, if you will, it's director and pastor of the Dream Center. But really, I have my hands dipped in everything from facilities to the programming that we run to the finance and the strategies that we're using to try to finance our efforts forward. So my cup is really, really full, but I love it. I love every second of it.
Wow, I love it. Yeah, I know your cup is full, and I would like to say I remember when you first reached out to us at the Birmingham Dream Center, just learning like, hey, we're starting this thing. What can we do? And I to this day, I'm still impressed at just how much you were so committed to asking questions and
Yeah.
learning every single thing that you could. And I think that God probably saw that heart and that humility and blessed it. And that's how you guys are so successful today, just the humility of learning from other people. Because we believe it, we're better together. And
Absolutely.
I think everybody's so honored just to the ones who were able to speak into this story, how honored they are to see it now. Like, wow, that I gave like a little tiny little bit to that. And
Yeah, yeah, and I remember leaning so much on you guys. On those first 24 months were absolutely crucial, and honestly, thank you. I was not planning on saying this, but thank you because you guys did play such a special role and part in our story. And if could encourage anything, especially no matter what state you're in, is remain. One of the things that my pastor preaches, even wrote a book about, is teachable. Remaining in that posture of humility and teachability is absolutely crucial for something like this, because we live in a world, as you know, that's ever evolving and moving forward and progressing. And if we lose that heart of humility and teachability, we'll never progress, in the right way, for in the kingdom's sake, for that matter. So
right. Wow. So good. So good. Appreciate it. I love it. So I love the story of how it kind of got going, but how did you guys know, like, all right, we are ready to go after this dream? A lot of churches have it in their heart, but don't know where to start, small baby steps, but how do you know when you're ready to just go after this thing?
yeah, it's a lot of seeking of the Lord. In that, we there was doors that were starting to open. So like I mentioned earlier, our outreach efforts in the community started about 10 years ago with our Adopt a Block ministry. And for 10 years, not a lot of people know this, the building that we currently acquired is a 46,000 square foot building. We used to use its parking lot to reach the communities locally around this area. And every time we would park here, our pastors would pray and look at the building specifically, not knowing that it would be this one, and would ask God, if you would give us a building like this to have a permanent presence, a dream center like this to have a permanent presence in our community, we promise to be faithful, and we give it right back to you. And so those prayers over 10 years, I think that's so huge. Something that you said is knowing when the right time is. I think everyone always has this spirit of entrepreneurialism, of wanting to move things forward, but truly the best thing to know is wait on God's timing. You'll know when He's opening the right doors. You'll know when He's closing the door, for that matter. And honestly, this building, we had attempted a couple of times prior to, we closed on November 8th, 2016, but prior to November 8th, we had attempted a few times actually to acquire this building, and it just never worked out. And so we kept trusting, kept believing, kept putting our faith in God, knowing that He knew the desires of our heart, that as we delighted in Him, He would give us the desires of our hearts. And but that timing thing is so huge. One of the biggest shift that I say happened in our church, right before we acquired the building, was that outreach was something we did. When it transitioned to outreach becoming who we were, and what, not something we did, there was a complete shift of heart internally. And because of that, I believe God has found us faithful with this building that we now have. And as you can see, I'm going to take you, and I don't want to spoil it, but I want to take you on a tour later at the end, which I'm really excited about. But if you'll see, out of the 46,000 square foot building, we've only renovated 2,500 square feet of it. And this is what we're going to continue to be faithful and honor God with and use for God's kingdom until He opens the doors for the rest of the building to be renovated.
Oh my gosh, there's so much anticipation. I cannot wait. This is so, I
Yes.
have to come. It's awesome. I love that it started in the parking lot. Parking lot fairs. Do not sneeze at them. That's
Nope.
faith story. I love that so much. And I love how part of my heart is like it's important to have the brain and the research and the knowledge before you do it, but there is a component of faith that has to be part of it. Any dream
Huge.
you can't
Huge.
do it without God's timing and God's spirit. So I love that it is a miracle story paired with your faithfulness.
Yeah, the second component that you kind of alluded to as well is, yes, there's this component of faith, and then if you really take the time to step back and say, God, why are you doing this? Like, if you can answer that question, it's gonna get you through that waiting season first, and then second of all, it'll give you clarity of vision of where you're running. So when we slow down to ask God, why is this process being slowed down? Why is this not happening just yet? we God revealed to us that this was an opportunity, that we still had to build and deepen relationship with the community, that we had an opportunity to deepen our influence. Though we'd been coming for 10 years, there was still a lot of progress that we had to make to deepen our influence within the community. And we needed to leverage this waiting period to continue to deepen this roots, because when we did have the building, if we had the influence and the relationship with the community, that could only exponentially help the Dream Center move forward. It can't hurt it. And so, yes, there's a huge faith component, but then I would even take it a step further and say, God, why are you delaying this? And for us, again, like I said, it was just simply to continue to deepen our roots, our relational roots with the community.
Wow. So much wisdom. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned something about how at the church there was kind of a shift from outreach is what we do versus who we are.
Mm-hmm.
What did that, I want to hear a little bit more about Next Level Church, like what the beliefs are, what the every church has a unique vibe. So what
Yep.
kind of that, but then also where did that shift come from? It doesn't just happen. So it was intentional. What triggered that?
Yeah, I would say it was a work that the Lord was starting and doing for a while now, and then at some point last year, Hurricane Irma came, and I think through that hurricane we were reminded of our true calling, and our true calling is to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Our true calling is to serve the least of these, and we never wanted to stray away from that. Honestly, if our pastors' hearts, they're so amazing and so pure. One of the ways that they even kind of grew the existing broadcast campus in the beginning was this just grassroots door knocking effort of just reaching people. Like, let's just meet them in their need where they're at. Jesus tells us to go, and I think that has always been the heart. But as a church grew, um, um, you know, the going wasn't as often, and so when the hurricane came, it really just recentered what our true north was, which was to go to the people, to help the people, to love the people, to build a relationship with the people, and just not wait on our heels for them to come to us. And it was so beautiful because it was a internal shift, but it bared so much fruit with the congregation itself. And so because of that, everyone's always on fire about serving and loving and going into our communities now. But it starts right with the heart of our pastors, and that's always been their heart. I think, seasons go up and down, and sometimes in certain seasons that may be lost. But when that hurricane hit, it really pointed us to our true north again.
Wow. It's crazy how much.
You're
Okay. Sorry, I accidentally paused the recording for 1 second. Anyway, I think it's crazy how I rarely talk to a church who has gone through a disaster that it didn't cause like this crazy heart. Let's get back to why we're here. It's all about people. And it's so sad. Like you would never wish to go through that. You would never wish for the community to have to deal with that. But the beauty that comes out of something so purifying that the whole community goes through it together, the whole church is all on the same page. And if the heart is pure, for something like that to come out of it, that victory of, okay, yeah, we're refreshed, we're back to center. It's beautiful. So I love that's the outcome of it. God couldn't have gotten better glory out of something like that. So it's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So we kind of know a little bit about Next Level there. How is the Dream Center connected to the church? Is it basically an outreach arm, campus, Sunday services, or every Dream Center is different? So what is
so I think that kind of marries with the future vision. So let me go future a little bit and then come back to our reality right now. One day we do want to host church service here on Sundays once the whole building is renovated. But really the Dream Center, what it is now, it's, and I learned this honestly from you guys, but one of the vital things that have helped us succeed is when you marry the vision of your pastor's heart with the need of the community. And so I'm going to get a little bit into the need of the community and how that ties back to our pastor's heart. Back in 2013, there was a sector right here in our inner city that was considered top 2 most deadliest neighborhoods in Florida. And then it was in the top 100 in the United States. And so when we did a little bit of digging, a little bit of searching even deeper to that, comes to find out that a lot of that pinpointed back to at-risk youth. These were kids from, anywhere from 15 to 25. As you know, um, in the inner city, 25 is considered young adult, but because of the dysfunction in the home here, it slows down that maturation process. So really, when I think of a 25, 26 year old here in the inner city, I think of still almost like a very young adult. Um, and so when we really started getting a pulse of the need, for us, it took a step even further of, okay, we can look at into purple studies, and we can look into different demographic studies, and get a generic idea of what the need is. But when we actually started door knocking and hearing the cry of people's heart, we really found out that the need was at-risk youth, right? And so if you go back to one of the visions that our church was started upon, was we believe in the next generation. And if you look across our church staff, there's a lot of young people as well that are being empowered to go change the world. And so when you look at the vision and the heart of our pastors, which is for the next generation, which is to empower and love them and resource them to change their world, it ties right in with what was happening in our back door, which was at-risk youth, getting in lots of trouble. To take it even a step further, and again, because you have to be very precise with what you're doing. You have to be very accurate with how you meet the need. I wouldn't have known this unless I would have door knocked and built relationships and partnerships. But a lot of the youth in our inner city, it's called Dunbar. It's the region of our city. So Dunbar is one of the most oversaturated areas in human services. And so because of that, there's a lot of free after school program for kids. Because of that, there's tons of programs. There's no shortage of programs for kids. But what I realized was that these programs were very transactional. Come in, do what you got to do, and then you leave and you check out. But these kids were never connected to a passion of theirs, right? It was come to our after school program. If you're lucky, you get a meal and then do your homework and have some free time. There's really no intentionality with the students. And then a lot of those after school programs focused on students that were self-sustained. So they were getting good grades in school. They were part of they're your A, B up to C student. And so there was this huge niche, and there is still this huge niche for your what we would call your at-risk youth, your students who are recipients of gun violence, dysfunctional homes, students that are failing in school, students that even their teachers write them off because they're just doing that bad, and there was no program for them. And then so for us, we want to get very specific to the need that we meet, and so our niche right now is at-risk youth, because that's a need, and that's the vision and the heart of our pastors. And when you marry those two together, you just set yourself up for success with your dream center.
Wow, you are like jam-packed with wisdom right now.
Oh, thank you.
So cool. So what I'm hearing is, like, I love the harmony of, you did your research on what are the needs in the community, looked on paper, you looked on the websites, listened, but you also listened to the felt needs of the people themselves.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just, this is what the paper says, so we're coming in to save the day. It's, okay, we see this, but what do you see? And it did line up for the most part, it sounds like. And then you guys didn't reinvent the wheel on all the other community organizations who are going after certain needs. You found, okay, this is working, but we need to find the whole. What's the missing piece, and what's our niche? What's our sweet spot? And then you were very specific to attack those. So that's so brilliant, so wise, and clearly it's being successful. So from, I know there's a whole nother side of it. You guys do the at-risk youth, and then homelessness was the next one that you have. I want to hear more about that. But first, like, with the at-risk youth stuff that you guys are doing, what are maybe, I know it's fresh, so I'm not sure how many stories you have, but maybe do you have any examples of success that you've seen, just like, from what we're doing so far, here's the wins?
Yeah, I'm laughing because we had a huge win last night, and in summary, we're running about 3 programs right now, in the process of finalizing 2 more. by mid-September at the latest. And one of the programs that we do is we do youth group. What makes us different is how we run our youth group, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I think of I think of Kurt, who we had to bail him out of jail. We had to he just came from a really dysfunctional home, had to deal with his drug substance abuse, and last month we took him to a conference where his life was radically changed through the presence of God, and it's just been really beautiful to see that. I think of last night. There was two kids. One of them's called Onady, and the other one's called Luke. And Onady was actually invited through Kurt's brother, and so you start seeing this ripple effect. He was invited through Kurt's brother, and he kind of just came, started playing basketball with us, and then last week yesterday he led their very first live worship song at our youth ministry in the Dream Center. And so you're starting to see a lot of these kids who everyone has written off just through a little bit of love, a little bit of relationship and intentionality, what can happen from the inside out with these students. And it's been amazing.
Beautiful. I love it. That's my favorite. I love stories. I love to hear people's names. Was that you posted on your story like a video of some of the kids singing? Was that
Yep.
one of them?
Yep, that was the first time we've had live worship at the Dream Center. And so you see this progression. We've been working with these kids for 3 years before we even had the building, and have just been keeping up in their lives. And now we're starting to see the fruits of that. And it was really beautiful and humbling to see two students lead worship yesterday in front of their peers. So
Cool. So beautiful. I love that. Okay, so is there anything else that maybe we haven't covered as far as the youth go? I know one thing that because you're so awesome, you sent me notes ahead of time. This is the first time that ever happened on a search. So that's super cool. Golden star. But I noticed there was a note you put in there as far as reaching the young adults. There was something you said most of the time churches will go after the youth to reach the whole family. But in some of these cases, you guys also are finding that targeting the parents and the grandparents can help reach the whole family too. So what does
100%.
Okay, explain that a little.
Yes. So if I could be very frank, in our suburban broadcast campus 5 miles down the road, when you reach the child, it's easier to bring the parent, right? Because if the child goes home, mommy, daddy, come check out church, come check out church. But when what I have found specifically in context to my location is that's flipped on the head. If I'm able to build a relationship with a parent, help them meet a tangible need in their life, love on them for who they are, and even help them take their next step in life, they're more prone to drop off 5 or 6 of their kids, and whatever the case may be, to youth service or to whatever we're doing. But that paradox is flipped in its head. And again, I don't know if that's the context for every single inner city demographic, but I have found it to be true for us, is that the more we're able to love on the whoever that parental source and guardian is, the more they're willing to bring their kids to church, because otherwise the kids think about an at-risk youth, the last thing in his or her mind is probably going to a church service or going to any sort of church event. And so when you're able to reach the parent, it just facilitates and makes that very, very, very easier. And that kind of goes back to the approach that we take. So Tori, whether this is our youth group that we do on Wednesday night, whether this is the after school mentoring program that we're about to launch for elementary age students, we really take the same approach with every program that we do. We try to take a holistic approach, and this goes back to the dysfunction at home, where a lot of the things that we're experiencing in our world today, whether it's teenage pregnancy, youth suicides, incarcerations. There's a very high percentage of that in our inner cities. That all goes back to this fatherlessness, right? And so for us, we realize, and I've realized this from day one, if I just come and provide a service, I'm just meeting a symptom. But if I can take a holistic approach to an individual's life, then I have highly increased their chance to succeed at life. And so, for example, our youth group and our mentoring program, we're going to we have about a 3-to-1 mentor ratio, and it's the mentor's job to get involved into the student's home life, school life, work life if they're in high school. Um, to build relationship with the parents, and to really get deeply integrated into this child's life or student's life for that matter. We're going to do the same thing with our after school program. Take a holistic approach, and to not just saying, "Hey, come and have a place to check your after school box off," but no, let's build a relationship. And I think the power of what a mentor does is that it takes us off our platform. It really allows us to come besides the kid or the student and do life with them and get involved at every level of their life. And so really, when I think of any ministry that we ever want to do, we're on the verge of launching a juvenile diversion program. It's not going to be any different than that holistic entire approach that we try to take with the youth.
Man, that's brilliant. So brilliant. And the holistic thing is super cool. And I think there's like a craving for that anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like outreach is great, like the shotgun approach, like let's just go blast the community.
Right.
Ways. That's great. Like that's an entry point. But I think there is a big time craving for people who want to get involved and see life change. And that's Jesus's hardest disciple.
Absolutely.
Is holistic. So
if I can be vulnerable too, like you said, that shotgun approach, it's easier. It was a lot easier for me to do a backpack event where we passed out 2,000 backpacks around Southwest Florida, than to try to find 12 mentors to invest 1 year of their life into a student. And again, it's because it's so much easier. So I don't want, if I can be completely vulnerable, taking a holistic approach. I mean, be ready to get your hands dirty. Be ready for tons and tons of late nights. Be ready for a lot of confrontation with parents. It's not pretty, but when you start producing, when you start seeing the fruit that comes out of it, it is well worth it. Well worth it.
Golly, I love that so much. Run to the mess. I know it's beautiful and it's a payoff and it's God's heart.
Yeah.
Quality is worth it.
Yep.
So I did want to ask, like, I think the mentoring idea and that program is so beautiful, so cool, but it is hard to get going. I think it's rare that you see it, see churches and dream centers do it and keep
Yeah.
because it does take a lot. But what does that infrastructure look like as far as vetting those who will be mentors, who want to be mentors, and then pairing them and making sure that it lasts? You said it's a year-long commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about what that looks like if someone wanted to go down that road.
Yeah, I think it takes a very honest conversation up front. So I go back to our youth ministry, which has been up and running for 3 years, well, longer, but I took over the last 3 years. And it takes, I've, in the last 3 years, have lost 2 mentors. And again, the turnover has been, it's been absolutely low. But I think what it requires is just some realness and vulnerability on the front side. Hey, here's what we're looking for. You see a lot, you have to be very careful and protective about what you do. A lot of people would come, oh, can I just come and check out what you do? And inside of them, they check off like a charity box of work. Oh yeah, I feel better about myself because I went into the inner city. And being upfront that that's not who we're going to be, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here. Anyone knows that before they volunteer with the Dream Center, in some way, shape, or form, they're in it for the longevity of it, for the length of it. For the long haul, if you will. And that is because consistency is absolutely crucial in everything that we do. People are, these students, the kids, even the adults, they're used to people coming by and flying by their life and walking right back out when it's convenient for them to walk right back out. And so they're used to this sense of abandonment. They're used to that sense of at times even rejection. And so for us, we're very clear about that. Hey, look, if you're looking to come check a charity box in your heart, I love you, but the Dream Center is not for you. And so people, before they even come and check this out, know and come with that expectation. And honestly, it's been so fruitful, to be real, just on the front end, because like I said, most of the mentors that have signed up have not walked away. And the 2 that did end up walking away is because, I mean, one of them had a baby and the other one bought a business. And so circumstances in life drastically change. Both are waiting for the perfect opportunity to come back and serve at the Dream Center again. But it's just setting those expectations crystal clear on the front end. is huge. So
Golly, that's incredible. Only 2 out of 3 whole years. That is absolutely incredible. So,
yeah,
wow. So what, I know I'm getting kind of deep on this one, but I just think
no,
it's so valuable and just a unique thing that you guys are doing, and it seems so successful. It is so successful. What is sort of the on ramp? So people, you guys, you said you communicate clearly at the front end that this is a commitment, it's consistent, it's not just a fluff, show up, you did your thing. But obviously, to get people to get hooked on serving at the Dream Center, what is some of your on ramps? Like, can people come and serve like on a first Saturday or whatever and just kind of get their feet wet? Can they come?
absolutely.
So, what are some of those, like, we call them on ramps from the church?
Yeah, so we've created some parameters. If anyone's interested in the Dream Center, they they come to they come the first they sign up, then they do the whole we do the whole automation, send them an email, really try to find out, hey, what are you interested in? Is it serve day, adopt a block, is it our youth ministry, or whatever the case may be. And from that point, it kind of changes for every ministry. And so for our adopt a block ministry, yes, absolutely, I would love to get, because adopt a block in it of itself, for the most part, is transient, right? You're there once a month. It's you build consistency over the long term. But for the actual day in itself, come set up and you love on people and then you're out. And so that's really an opportunity for people, one, to see what we do, with people. It's an opportunity for them to come and see the Dream Center. And then for our youth ministry and probably our after school ministry that we're going to start, it'll be very similar. Come check us out. But your interaction with the kids itself is going to be very limited. You can come and observe everything that we do. Come see us worship. Come hear the word. Come, if you want, sit down even in a small group, but under supervision. We just don't want that can of relationship, like that can of them to open a can of relationship and then walk back out. So I give them about a 2 to 3 week period of just acquaint yourself with what we're doing. If this is for you, know that you're signing in for the long haul. But yes, there has to be that's people, sometimes people don't even know that they're in love with inner city work, if for that matter, unless they're around it. And so there has to be that safe, it's our job to create those safe parameters for them to observe what we're doing, but very careful with the level that we involve them to until they're ready.
Genius. I love it. So good. Yeah, because people, I'm the same way. Like, I don't know until I see it, but
Hmm.
just given that buffer period is awesome.
Yeah.
No doubt people fall in love with it pretty easily, it sounds like. So great
Yeah.
there. That's incredible. Okay, anything else on the note of the at-risk youth ministry? I want to hear about the homelessness too. I know you said that was a big one.
Yeah. Homelessness is a huge need. We our youth group started at a soup kitchen where, Tori, if I'm not lying, you could not open your mouth to worship without a fly trying to get in there. It was rough, but um, being at the soup kitchen, we would see every Wednesday night how many homeless people would end up there just asleep, and then we take walks to our downtown area and see how many homeless people are sleeping under a bridge, and then come to find out, shelters, you would call the shelters, whether it was Salvation Army or another shelter, um, um, they were already at capacity with being able to reside anyone in their shelter. And so homelessness has been a huge need. I think our approach on how we're going to attack that need is going to be a little bit different. And here's why. I think it goes back to that vision of, like, what, at the end of the day, what makes your pastor's heart burn? Because my job as a director is to make sure that that vision that he gets from God is what's being executed and done here at the Dream Center. And so not that homelessness is not a passion or a burden, but I think the approach that we take to it is a little bit different. The soup kitchen is literally 2 lights down the road. And so with that being said, uh, why try to duplicate efforts? Why can we maybe perhaps come in partnership and in communion together we, one of our core values is that we're better together. And so if we really believe that, can we come together to reach more people? Um, uh, for the glory of Jesus. And so when I show you the tour, you'll see the part of the building that we is already pre-wired to be a kitchen. And so part of what we're praying for and asking, the Lord to show us is, do we run an extension of the soup kitchen 2 lights down the road, so that during, feeding hours, we're able to reach more people. And so, yeah, our approach is, it's still a drastic need, but our approach is a little bit different for that one.
Love that. The need is there, but it's figuring out what's our niche. Again, what's the sweet spot, listening, taking your time. Genius. So good. All right. I could like sit and talk to you for wisdom. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are running out of time. And I just, seriously, please write a book one day. I will buy it.
Thank you.
And it'll be awesome. But okay, so you had asked for some like wisdom and practical advice for people.
Yeah.
And you sent some great thoughts. So if you would jump into that a little bit. I think you gave 3 big points, but if there's anything else that's come up on your heart since that time.
Absolutely. I would say there's a couple that are really quick. And so mind you, I've learned most of this. I've learned through trial and error, mistakes of my own. Some I've been able to learn just by listening. I think a great leader is able to learn from other people's mistakes, and be able to listen and execute on that. So one of the first things that I learned is partnerships. This is a huge facility, as we're about to see, and you could imagine there's almost a call or an email or whatever it is weekly, if not daily, about, hey, can we partner? Can we partner? Can we partner? And so that there may be some very glamorous organizations, some glamorous partners that are out there. But one of the things that we've learned is be very careful who you partner with. On one hand, you yourself are still building trust and credibility with the community. So the right partner could be very helpful, or it could be very hurtful. It could hurt your credibility. It could hurt your trust with the community. But the most important is make sure they complement your vision and your heart. There is nothing worse than going into partnership with someone 6 months down the road. There's clashing because of vision, because of heart, because of what we're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to accomplish. And all of a sudden, again, and then I know Jesus is greater than negative publicity, but if you can be wise about it, imagine, a news headline: Dream Center kicks out local soup kitchen, or because we didn't do our due diligence in making sure that we had the same heart and vision of what we're trying to accomplish. And ultimately, there needs to be a submission, and a submission is not necessarily one above the other one, but a mutual submission of we're going to work together. If ultimately, we as the church, because at the end of the day, Tori, no matter what we do, we want Jesus to be glorified. And if anything's ever going to hinder that or come in the way of that, you have to be okay with us saying, hey, no, we better slow that down. So a submission, and then make sure they complement. But if you really do your due diligence and make sure they complement your vision, you don't run into stuff like that.
That's so good. How do you kind of set those expectations ahead of time? Is there like a written sort of like contract that you go through, or just have a conversation?
Both. Oh, absolutely. If it's not on paper, it's not legal, right? It's not for real. So I think it starts with a conversation. And then for example, there was a partner that I met about a few months ago, and I said, the minute I walked into what he was doing, his organization, I felt in my wow, this is an amazing partner. As we continued his tour, we saw that some of the core values were very similar, right? He has a type of mentoring program, but at the core of who he is, he wants his kids to know Jesus and also help them take the next step in life. And so there was that deep sense of that. But then that also requires a conversation. Hey, just to be clear, let's be black and white about our vision, about our heart, about what we're trying to accomplish, about expectations. What is it that you want from me? What is it that I want from you? So that when we do come into partnership, there is no questions. Expectations is huge. We talked about expectations on our second meeting. And again, that clarity is so huge. And then, yeah, if you can absolutely put it on paper, create a contract, it just gives you a form of accountability. We definitely, need accountability in this world, and it's no different when you talk about a partner. There needs to be accountability there amongst one partner to the other.
Love it. I love it. It's so good. I think it's easy for us. We preach a lot of just take every opportunity, say yes, like just get your feet moving, which is good in some ways. But I think just the patience and the obedience that you guys have to the vision and the diligence to have the boldness to say no sometimes. It's okay. Like make sure you're
Yeah,
right because it's God's vision, not yours. So that's brilliant. And I love
yeah.
how you're doing that. Okay, a couple other things that you had that you were going to share was about the Dream Center is not about the building, it's about the
Mhm.
people. So share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, it's God in His sovereignty slowed down our process. Like I said, it was a no for a couple times. It was a culmination of 10 years of waiting before we ever closed on the building. And again, we just had to cross that line where, you know what, it's not a building. It's absolutely not about building. If the Dream Center truly is going to be about Jesus and bringing Him glory and bringing people to know Jesus, then we can very well do that going to the people. It's about the people that need Jesus. But you don't need a building to do that. A building can facilitate that, but it's not necessary to do that. And so if we can at the core of our DNA of who we are as a Dream Center, if we can integrate that to all our people, volunteers, coaches, whoever it is, mentors, that it's always going to be about people coming to know Jesus, people coming to their eternity changing forever because of a relationship with Jesus. Then I think we've succeeded. But I don't need a building to do that. And I think sometimes it's so hard to get caught up in saying, if I just had a building, I would do this. If I just had a building, I would do this. And listen, take it from the guy who's waiting for the space to be renovated. I am itching and can't wait for those buildings and that door to swing wide open. But at the same time, I am so excited about the current season that we're in, and I'm so excited about going to the people and reaching them because that's what Jesus did, and that's what we need to encompass and live. So let's not get caught up in the if I only had a building, or if I only had this, or if I only had that. No, you have Jesus, and with Jesus, it's more than enough for you to make a difference in your community.
So good. I love it. So much patience and humility there. I know
Yeah,
I keep saying that, but I just you guys just speak that so much. Just trusting God and His faithfulness. And we tell people all the time who want to start a dream center, like you can start it with a room in your church, or you can start it with a truck, or you can just start it with a group of people. And
that's
it's
it.
the same thing. It's just about reaching people, and God will give you what He thinks is time,
Absolutely,
the right time.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay. One more thought I was going to ask you about, and then I have so many questions. Man, I'm not even getting close to the sequel. That'll be fun. But and then we can do the tour if you still have time for that.
I'm good for it.
I am like on the edge of my seat about that. But okay, the one more thing I was going to ask you. You said the enabling versus
Oh yeah.
empowering people. It's such a great concept. So, what is your approach to that?
Yep. There's a fine line between enabling and empowering, and I'm very thankful for my wife, because she's worked. She actually now works at the church, but before that, she was in the foster care industry, and she would always say, "Jared, be careful. You want to empower, not enable." And it's so true. So even take back what I just said. Our community, this Dunbar area, is the most oversaturated area region in Florida with human services. So people are used to what? They're used to handouts. They're used to people giving themselves. They're used to discounts. And because they're used to that, they lose the motivation to self-improve. They lose the motivation to want to help themselves. They lose the motivation to be independent. And so really at the core, you have a very deep issue, because again, if a family is collecting just enough to make it and are living fine, and what's going to motivate them? What's going to motivate them to go out and get a job? What's going to motivate them to go out and want something better for themselves? And I'm just saying that line is very fine. I live by this quote and I say it all the time. You can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Here's how you know that the horse wants to drink the water. And by no means am I referring to people as horses. I'm using an explanation. But if they're showing interest, if they're taking steps on their own to improve, then you can see that they're starting to sip of the water. If you take them there, paint the picture out for them, um, and there is no self motivation to want to improve, then they're not going to drink of it. And I think sometimes we want people to change more than they want to change themselves, and we can't afford that. Either you bring them to the water and they're motivated enough, and here's how they're going to get motivated: through relationship, through loving them, through not judging them, through not I'm by no means going to sit down with a mom who's probably done a lot of things wrong, not put myself in her shoes and judge her. I can't do that. My job is to love her. My job is to build a relationship with her. My job is to walk beside her, to feel her pain, to know her story. And hopefully through this relationship that we're able to create, you can gain enough motivation to want to change yourself. And most of the time people do want to change. But again, knowing when they don't want to drink of the water is huge, because you can waste time, energy, prayers, tears, of just hoping and wanting for them to change. And we get caught up in that. But at the end of the day, they just don't. And sometimes actually the disconnection, the severance of the relationship between you and them, that's actually what motivates them to want to change. They'll realize, oh wait, they do know what they're talking about. They do have their best interest in mind. Part of the reason people don't have the motivation to change is because they don't trust anyone. Our community here in Dunbar specifically, they lack so much trust in each other, in others, and definitely an organization that's trying to help them. And so if I can through relationship, through love, build trust with someone, once that trust is built, you can take them anywhere. And I'll say this, our responsibility is to give seeds of hope, love, and let the Holy Spirit give it growth. Our responsibility is to love them enough so that they can be self-motivated, but knowing, again, drawing the line and saying, okay, maybe they're not going to drink of the water, and being okay with just taking a step back and trusting that the seeds that you've planted, God will give it growth in his due time, is absolutely huge.
Golly, so good. My gosh, so good. I just love how much you guys are for the people. Like, there's so many organizations, like you said, that are just out there, and they probably have a true heart for people, but just the crazy commitment that you have to make sure that people are better, people genuinely are loved. It's not about, like you said, the checkbox of charity. It is, you're genuinely in this to help people's lives.
Yeah.
And I love that heart. There's an anointing. And while you were talking, this might be weird, but I just feel like you and your team, but especially you, have this gift of fatherhood on you. I know you have a baby coming. I was like, that's kind of cool. It's so charming. But just even in your youth, even in just what you're going through, I just feel like you are a father to Dunbar and for the community, and it's going to
Thank you.
growing. And just that heart of, we're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to go there, and I'm going to have grace, and the water is always going to be there. I'm not going to force it on you, because God's
Sure.
forced, but it's always there, and we're going to do this. So
Yeah.
absolutely
Be faithful. Be faithful is huge. I know two things. One of the verses that I cling to is, "Do not grow weary of doing good, for in due time you will reap a harvest." A lot of the fruit that we're reaping now is because it was 3, 5, 10 years of investment into these people, and it's so easy to grow weary. It's so easy to grow tired, or even honestly to lose the heart of why you do things, to crave bigger platforms. And part of what I've always prayed for me is, Lord, help me to keep the humility and the faithfulness of serving here, right in my backyard. Here's where I grew up. Here's where I'm going to be faithful. And whatever you want to do with this, Lord, you do it. And however you want to use me, you use me, Lord. Well, being faithful is absolutely huge. I can't stress enough how how hard it is. And I'm not saying that to discourage anyone. Truly, when you start getting into the weeds of people's needs, it's very, very, very hard. Um, People are needy. But either I'm going to be Jesus for them or not. And I choose to be Jesus. And that's what I desire to do.
Good Lord, I have the goosebumps.
Uh,
That's a tweet. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And it's so cool that you said that because I was gonna skip it, but one of my questions was like, how do you handle the compassion fatigue and just there's so much that you're seeing, so many needs, and you personally are carrying so much, and I know that it can be a lot. So just that was cool. Like it is hard. It is hard to
yeah,
not always glamorous, but in glamorous. So
that's right. That's
so
right.
okay, so before we go to the tour, real quick,
Yes,
people want to maybe reach out to you or connect with you for any follow-up questions they may have, or your
absolutely.
best way to connect.
It would you could either reach me at my email, which is jared.rendon, so jared.rendon, REND as in David, ON, at nextlevelchurch.com, or you can go ahead and reach me through my cell phone as well, 239 And I will say I'm a millennial, so if you text me, I'll respond faster.
I was gonna say, man, you went bold there with the phone. You went
Or
text, don't call. Amen. I'm all about that.
text first, and then I'll call you back.
I will.
Yes, listen. I will say this. We've been very fortunate and blessed with people like you and Church of the Highlands and Ark and Dino, and we are. A big portion of us being who we are today is because we've been able to lean on the bigger brother and sister like you guys. And so whatever I can do to give back to other churches, other dream centers, I'd love to.
Oh man, you're my hero. You guys are. Love y'all so much, and we look up to you guys. Y'all are leading the way, so it's all mutual love. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, are you gonna take us on a tour now? This is the best part.
I am. So we're gonna start where we do most of our programming, which is that 2,500 square feet. And so let me just go ahead and turn around this camera. All right. So I will walk up to all of this. On Wednesday nights, these tables right here are filled with games. Our mentors are playing, whether it's Jenga or whatever it is, they're playing games, building a relationship with our kids, no matter what their program is. We always feed them. So this counter right here will kind of lay out whatever food we have, whether it's chicken or pizza or whatever the case may be. And then here's where they'll sit to listen to some worship and then hear the word. And this is kind of our screens and our TVs and all that. This space, like I said, we use for everything. So on Wednesday nights, we have an after school program. On Wednesday nights, we have our youth group. On Thursday nights, we have Maximize Living Clinic, which is a chiropractic firm that provides holistic care to people, and they see them for free. We have these little nifty banners. And then this is kind of just some soft seating, some area for the kids on Wednesday nights to sit, hang out, have a conversation. We got a little check-in area there where they're able to check in and we'll track their attendance, track if anyone's missed. So like I said, looking at it now, I'm looking from the door back into the Dream Center. And this is the space we'll use for the after-school mentoring program, which will most likely be on a Tuesday night. And so now we have 3 programs running. We'll have 3 programs running. Friday will be my day off, and then we'll have a juvenile diversion program. That program will meet on an as-needed basis, so there's no need to necessarily lock in a specific date. But this is what the Lord has entrusted with us right now, 2,500 square feet. And then next door, there's about 2,200 square feet, and I can't go in there, but I can show it to you. It's where we partner with the Fort Myers Police Department, and one of these. Speaking of honest and vulnerable conversations, one of the conversations we had to have was with them, and here's the reason: there's a huge gap in trust between the community and the police department, and so we wanted to make sure that they were going to leverage what we're doing to build trust, and they have. They've been amazing partners. I'm standing outside in the parking lot so you can get a feel for how big this building is, and then I'm going to look at the actual building that we'll go in that's not renovated. So I can turn around right here. Can you see that?
Wow. Yes. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yep. And so we have 2 parcels right here. on my right. So the first parcel is where we do all our ministry. The second parcel is the police resource center, and then there's two more parcels on the other side. I'm not sure if you can see it just yet, and those have not been renovated. We're praying about possibly putting a health clinic in there, but as you can see, there's another two parcels straight ahead, and then this is the main portion of the building that I'm about to walk into.
Oh
And
my
so,
gosh, it's huge.
yeah, it's God. God truly blessed us. Truly blessed us with such an amazing building.
What did it used to be?
It's a great question. So back in the day, it was built to be a supermarket, and that lasted about 8 years. And then it was a school for 2 years, and now it's the Fort Myers Dream Center. And so,
Dang, that's some history. It's so
yep.
beautiful. Oh my gosh.
So this is the part that is not renovated quite yet. And so, our carts. We have some, outreach speakers and stuff like that. I think the plan
Uh-oh.
is to create. There's another similarly narrow hall right here. So I think the goal is to knock this wall down and create a more open foyer space, and that'll obviously help us serve for Sunday church services when we have them, and just right down there. There's one hallway right in the middle, and there's one hallway further to the right. There's about 27 classrooms total. And so I don't know if you can tell where the green and the paint and the pink, where the green paint starts to about this yellow paint right here. We're gonna knock this back, raise the ceilings again because it's really low. The ceilings are really low. This is gonna become a 700 seat auditorium, 650 seat auditorium on the weekends, and then about during the day.
Wow. Hey Jared, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's the signal in that room, but I can
During
see.
the during the day. During the week, it'll be big. So remember, you have
You. I got you back. I got.
what was the last? What was the last thing you saw?
I saw the pink and the green and the yellow wall.
Okay, so that that was our central hallway.
Cool.
That's the center hallway. So if you walk into the main building, there's three hallways. The center hallway is the one that we're going to knock back, and we're going to make a 650 seat auditorium on the weekend, and it'll house about 250 to 300 kids daily for our after school program.
Golly.
And then if I keep going deeper into the building, I'll probably lose service. But at the end of it is the cafeteria, which was the area that we were talking about potentially partnering with the soup kitchen, and that's where we'll be able to feed more homeless people. And then to the right of that, there is a really small gym, and that gym we're going to use to put your treadmills and your weight rooms and all that. Clearly, I don't go to the gym, so I don't know all what goes in there, but it'll be a little gym. And the reason we're going to make it a little gym is because after the kids have attended, or the students or the kids have attended the after school program, obviously if it's age appropriate, we want to hone in on something that they're passionate about. So whether it's basketball, whether it's football, let's not just do it recreationally and just throw the football around or shoot some hoops. Let's actually, build some partners of the community that are passionate about teaching the game of basketball and can help you take your game to the next level. And so that gym will be a resource to them to use however needed. And then again, it'll help our after school program because now the kids are going to have something to look forward to. They have a passion that they're not just doing recreationally, but that they're intentionally getting better at.
Dude, that is so cool. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. I love you people. Okay, when are you taking mission teams? Because I feel like there's a bunch of people who want to come now that they've seen this beautiful dream.
Probably within the next year or so. Once the big building is open,
We'll be patient.
we'll open it up to submission teams.
We'll be
Yes,
patient,
ma'am. That's the name of the game.
Okay, patient. Amen. Got you. Cool. Well,
All right.
thank you so much, Jared, for taking time, for hanging with us. This was a blast. And thank you, everybody, for jumping.
Anytime. I had so much fun.
The best is gonna be fun. I really think we're gonna do a sequel. So yeah, when the gym's open.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for jumping on today. We'll see you next time on the Serve Brew. Have a good one.
Bye.